and welcome to another episode of the Unrealistic Box, where we have realistic discussions about unrealistic dreams. I am your host, Kimberly Ali.
And I am your host, Laura Griffiths.
And today we have another special guest, JC Oldboy, Attorney-at-Law Vivian Rose. My work friend, my best friend, Vivian Rose. Hi, Vivian.
Hello, ladies. Thank you for having me on the program. Hope you're both having a blessed day thus far.
Thank you. Now, Vivian, for our listening audience, I'm going to ask you to tell us about yourself and to include something about you that you want to do.
Well, I guess earlier an attorney-at-law, Jamaica College old boy. But otherwise from that, a humble person, fun, if I know you. If I don't know you, then you'll just see me as a quiet guy. Love sports. Any kind of sports, you'll find me being either watching it, not necessarily participating in it, but always watching it, and that's just me. Something that people probably don't know about me. I recently took up this new hobby of gardening. When you live in a house where you have a yard, if you don't do anything with it, bush will come up. So I just decided, do a little gardening. And then, maybe when the crop starts to bear, then you guys can get something.
Vivian always looks out for me. He brings me fruits, he brings me pine and cantaloupe and banana and orange. So what are you planting? What is your crop like?
Well, I actually have a broccoli there. And, I didn't even know it was a broccoli because, when you're amateur, you put the things them, you put one bag of seed in the pot, and when they grow, you have no idea what is growing. Because the broccoli that you buy in the supermarket or you buy at market, that's not how it looks initially. And then I had a kale growing, but that one died because somebody made one plastic bag on it and then, it died. But I'm doing in the prep work of planting a next set of crop.
What we're planning on doing next? The mangoes, pear, pineapple?
The yard is not that big, you have to kind of keep it to the smaller things. I already have coconut and drum plum in the yard, so.
Yeah, okay. I like coconut.
Nice life.
So I can expect coconut, right?
Yeah, sure. When you can somebody to pick them, because I cannot pick them.
No problem. Stay like.
Alright, let's just talk to me about your journey as it relates to an attorney. How did you choose that career path? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or was it just something you stumbled upon?
Well, when I was at JC, I think it's third farm. In third farm, that's after third farm, going into fourth farm, that's when I specialize basically as to what you want to do. So I spoke to a teacher to ask him what subjects I needed to do in order to become a lawyer. So he said I would have to do the art subject. Being a child, you hear art, you think of painting and drawing.
Yeah.
So upon doing more research, you realize that visual art is different from arts, right? So it encompasses like literature and history and those subjects. So that's what I ended up doing. I went into arts, and then from there the journey continued to law at UWI, then law school, and then working as a lawyer.
Is it in your dream any at all to open your own practice?
Well, certainly, because that's one of the good things about law. It affords you that ability, or it gives you the option to always open your own practice. So it's one of those professions where you're not restricted to working for somebody throughout your entire career. Like law or medicine or certain, what kind of law? Well, I do civil law. So usually when people ask me, I say I do civil law, anything except crime, really. But civil is vast, so there are numbers. Yeah, so that's mainly what I do at the office. So I do a lot of real estate, so selling and buying, and other areas that are included. We also do probate, and then like civil litigation, commercial litigation.
So, Vivian, for aspiring lawyers, so what can you tell them what tips or qualifications do they need first? So what qualifications do they need to enter into law school, and what tips can you give them as they venture into the legal field?
Well, what I'll tell them what I was told. So entering law, well, is if you're going to go to UWI or UTech or University of London, which are usually the three options available out there. What the advice I give it is to try and be as competitive as possible. So it's not necessary. What they'll say, you need X amount of subjects and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's the persons with the best grades that are going to get through because it's competitive. So my advice to them would be to do your best, right? So get the best grades as possible because you're going to have a lot of competition. Also, it's easier. Well, I'm not sure if it's changed now, but it was easier to get through from UWI. I think they have changed it somewhat in terms of moving from university to law school. So my thing is just work hard, get the best grades, and to be sure that it's something you want to do. Because it requires a lot of dedication and time. And if it's not something you're sure you want to do, then I wouldn't advise you going into it. So it's one of those careers where it's best or works out best when you have a passion for it.
Alright, so what is one thing, if any, would you change about the legal profession?
Well, what I would change is the delay or the time it takes to have certain matters dealt with. So you'll see at times that court matters, they take an extensively long time. You'll have, especially like for civil matters, you'll have persons. So like if you have a matter now and you get your lawyer and stuff, the lawyer file the claim and everything, and then you reach the point where they're going to give you a date for trial. So what year are we now? 2022?
Next year.
You're likely going to get a date in probably 2026, 2027.
Yeah,
no.
that is true.
So
I can
that, delay and stuff, it's, and then also because for certain years we have to work with government agencies. So even the land matters that I spoke about, we have to work with like Stamp Office and the National Land Agency. And then sometimes it delays the process. And then the clients don't care about that, because they're dealing with you. So when you tell them that, not just on you have to deal with other agents, they don't care.
Hear that.
They just know that they want their matter. Wow. So just like a little experience, that's the main thing I would say.
Okay, what has been like one of your most challenging cases?
Well, for my most challenging, I guess the ones at court, because where I'm at now, because this is my second firm. The first one, we did a lot of litigation, right?
Right.
So where I'm at now, we do a lot of litigation. So when they do pop up, because I don't have experience in them, they tend to be, not complicated, but because I don't have the knowledge, it takes a bit more. But when you're used to something, it's easier. That's why experience is so valuable. So usually it requires me calling around, asking colleagues who are more experienced, what I need to do, what I need to file, what's the process here, and so forth. So I tend to find the litigation aspect more difficult.
Got you. Is it more difficult to switch? So you said that you were doing civil law. Would it be difficult for you now to switch from civil to criminal law?
Yeah, because the thing is, like I said, experience is important. Well, you mean like for me to transition from the other? That's what I mean. Yeah, man. Because remember, say it's about experience. So I don't have any experience in crime. So I keep telling my friends that, but anytime they have any issue, they will come. I say, what you need for doing this and that? So if I have knowledge, it will be based from law school, not any knowledge of practice or so forth. Because the only time I would end up in a criminal court is if I'm observing on behalf of a client. A criminal proceedings. So like if the complainant, no matter, is a client, then we'll go there and observe. But otherwise from that, I wouldn't have any knowledge in terms of crime, like question and answer, going to police station or anything like that.
Okay. So how do you enhance your skills? How do you keep abreast of the changes within the legal profession?
Well, I guess it's the same with any area. You have to be abreast of the new regulations. For especially in law, you know that it's like in the name says, it's about the law. So you're going to have constant new cases. So you have to be abreast of the new cases, whether or not that new case has changed the law as you know it, whether or not government sees it fit to make new legislation or case or acts which would affect the law, right? So you just have to keep abreast of the law, because the law is fluid. It keeps changing. I'll give you an example. I think about 2 or 3 years ago, the Prime Minister would have changed transfer tax, right? And stamp duty. So that's what one of the fees that you would pay, like when you're buying a property, the vendor would have to pay the transfer tax, and the purchasers and the vendor would have to pay the stamp duty jointly. It's not just for land matters, but for certain transactions. So like if you're buying shares and so forth, it would come up. Before it was a percentage, stamp duty was a percentage. So to encourage people to buy more property, they would change it from a percentage at the value of the place to $5,000, which will be shared equally by both parties. And they also reduced transfer tax from 4% to 2% as a means of encouraging people to not just rent places, but to buy places.
I get you. I like that. That's very interesting.
For aspiring lawyers, where can they find, material to brush up on their legal knowledge? What resources can they tap into for them to, enhance their knowledge of law and stuff like that?
Well, depending where they are, so you said aspiring lawyers. So if they are students, most of the universities that they would attend would provide certain facilities. Also, the law school would provide that, because when I was at law school, they provide Westlaw and so forth, which are legal libraries, online libraries. So they provide case and statutes. And when you're now a lawyer, depends, because everybody's not going to be at a big firm with certain resources. Then you always have the court library available to you. You have the internet, which would include like the Supreme Court website with a number of cases and so forth. And then you have the good old books that the physical books that you can utilize.
Are all the cases recorded and uploaded to like a site where you can go back and review, like our Jamaican cases?
Well, most of them are. And what happens is that they are eventually uploaded. So like for Supreme Court, those Supreme Court cases, you can find them on the Supreme Court website. You also have the Jamaican Law Report and so forth, which would have Jamaican cases, the West Indian Law Report, which would have West Indian cases and so forth. I have it for England as well. So as a Commonwealth country, Jamaica being a Commonwealth country, we can utilize cases from England and so forth.
Yes.
So as a lawyer, integrity is key. Yes? So in what area of your life would you need to be more truthful and practice higher levels of integrity than today?
Well, like you said, the law, you see, when you're a lawyer, you have what they call a fiduciary duty, right? To your client and to the profession. So
don't just brush over that. You have to let us know.
So it's really a duty of care to your client and to the profession. So remember, when people utilize lawyers, they're usually in a situation where either they're desperate, like if it's a criminal matter and you're a defense lawyer, or it's something it's usually not small, it's usually something life-changing. So even buying a house, that's something serious. So if I'm going to give somebody my money, or I'm going to have somebody do a transaction on my behalf, if I'm going to rely on a defense lawyer to keep me out of prison and so forth, you would expect that a higher standard of trust would be there, right? So, so that's what we do a lot of courses, even in law school, about ethics, because in the profession, ethics is something it's key, right? Even though we have continuing education as lawyers, where we have to do a certain number of classes each year. And a number of those would be ethics class. And you have to do those. Okay. So while
that's within the GLC?
Yeah, the GLC and the JAMBAR, the Jamaica Bar Association. Mm-hmm. So you have to do those ethics classes. Because sometimes even certain situations that wouldn't seem unethical to you as a layman, or even as a young lawyer, those classes would sometimes allow you to realize that, oh, you can't do this, right? And it would protect you and protect the client. So like even taking gifts from client and so forth.
Was it prohibited to take access?
Well, it depends what you're accepting. So that's why it's good to know what you can accept. Mm-hmm. So to protect yourself in the long run.
All right, let me give you a example, a case scenario, right? Laura is now 35 and Laura wants to buy a house, and Kimberly is selling her place, right? We're friends and it's an easy transaction. I'll just send her $6 million and she gives me the title, right? Why do I need a lawyer then to intervene or to help with whatever matters necessary? Why can't I not just give her the money, she gives me the title, and it's a done deal, clean and fair? What's the process like, and why would I need a legal representative?
All right, so in the profession, we say any dealing with land is something of a serious nature, right? So it's not like buying a car where you just give her the money and get the title, right? The reason why we need a lawyer is that there's a process involved, and to ensure that both parties are protected, a lawyer is essential to the process. So you also have to deal with government bodies, right? So if you don't understand the process, you can find that you will end up paying more or end up facing penalties. Because I'll give you an example. When you're dealing with, say you're selling it to Kimberly, right? You do probably have some legal knowledge, right? You do a sales agreement, but you don't know that based on the date and the sales agreement, if you don't have the knowledge that you need to send it to stamp office within 2 weeks from today's date, then you face 100% penalty, right? You didn't know that, but your lawyer would know that. And then you'd end up paying twice as much, right? So, and then sometimes, depending on the price, the price of the place, that could be millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you don't have the necessary knowledge of what's going on. Also, you'll find nowadays that a lot of persons, so if you're buying somewhere and you say, oh, I don't want a lawyer, the vendors usually require that you have a lawyer just to protect everybody's interests, to ensure that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. And then also, so it's mainly to deal with the government bodies and then to ensure that your interest is protected, right? So remember that it's something serious, and if you don't have the relevant knowledge, then you can end up being in a bad situation. Yeah. Right? And then it's always like, if you make a bad deal, the law will not rescue you. So if you buy the place, right, from Kimberly, and it have one bag of issues like there's a leak, it have like sewage damage or anything like that. And you didn't think at the time, say, I need to get a survey or I need to get an inspection done. Suppose you are encroaching on the neighbor's property, or you're too near to the street, and then you'll have to make certain amendments to the wall and so forth. All of that, your lawyer will be able to advise you to say, when you're buying a place, you need to get a survey report done to see whatever the vendor said they're selling you is theirs, right? So they're not selling you 1 acre, but when you do the survey or when you review the title, really and truly they only have a 3/4 acre and they're selling you a piece of the neighbor's land, right? So a lawyer would help all of that.
Yeah. Is it similar for when you receive like inheritance or gifts, like lands are for gifts or inheritance?
Well, would
you need a lawyer for that as well?
Yeah, I would say that it would be best. If you want to deal with legal matters concerning land, my recommendation is always to get legal advice, right? Because all of these things have a number of procedures,
right?
And you have to know how to deal with the procedures. And if not, then there are consequences. Even if somebody died and leave their property in a will, and they left you as a beneficiary or executor, If you wait like 5 years after the person died, then there could be consequences, because then you have to file an affidavit of delay to say why you're filing it so late, right? Also, like if you have somebody who died for you, you need to know it's best to retain a lawyer as soon as possible, or at least to get legal advice, because a lot of people don't know that there's something called debt duties. So you hear them always say, they're saying the two things they can't avoid is debt and taxes. That is true, right? So
Rose, Mr. Rose.
Yes. So you will find that you will leave things for people and they end up having to use it to pay off debts and so forth. Yeah, so I was saying, so even when the person dies, they can pay, you have to pay debt duties depending on the situation. Alright? So if you don't deal with it and then 2 years pass and so before you deal with it, then you realize that at stamp office, everything has to go through stamp office, you realize that after the anniversary of the person's death, then you start accruing interest each day. So then they give you a year grace period, to mourn and to get everything in order. So it doesn't start accruing until after a year since the person died. So you'll have the person there and they're accruing debt and interest and you don't even realize.
Okay.
How do you balance your time and how do you set boundaries as you eat to your month?
Alright, so the best way I find to balance my time is to be prepared the day before. I recently read a book where they said plan is like preparing for the future, right? Preparing for the future now, right? So if you plan out the day tomorrow, then it's easier. I find that it's easier for me to transition throughout the day. While things will come up during the day which may affect it, if you say that I need to do X, Y, and Z, and you have it noted before, then I find it's an easier transition than if you go then tomorrow and say, oh, what we need to do today? I find that it's better when I plan out the day. So that helps me a lot. In terms of boundary, I like to say that I go to work early, so I'll do work when I'm there, but once I'm not there, unless it's an emergency, then I'm not doing it. Right? So you have to respect people's boundaries and personal time. You can't just work. You have to have time for your family, you have to have time for your personal mental health. So whether it's if you want to watch a movie, you want to read a book, you get me? So it can't work all the time. You get me? You have to have a time for just mental health.
Yeah.
So what do you do to unwind or to, gather yourself?
So like I said earlier, I'm a sports person. So once there's sports on, I'll watch it. I'll play games at times. I read books, but I don't really read books to unwind. I read books for self-improvement, because I always say I read books. I read the reading constantly, so I don't really find reading to be fun. I'm not one of those persons that read for fun. I read for self-improvement or if I have to. So it's playing games and watching movies and so forth. That's me.
So what are we watching now? What's your favorite movie or series to watch?
Well, what I'm watching now, I'm watching the new season of Stranger Things.
What about our books? Are we only strictly law, or are we doing sci-fi, romance? What are we reading as well? Or what's your favorite book as well?
Well, the in terms of like novels, the best one I read was one called Green Days by the River. But otherwise, in terms of what I'm reading now, like I said, it's self-improvement books. So like The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay.
Think and Grow Rich. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Of course.
The Psychology.
Definitely.
The Psychology of Sin. And then this one that I'm reading now is also one by Brian Tracy. It's called Eat That Frog, 21 Ways to Stop Procrastinating. So while the name is weird, I find that Brian Tracy books are usually good. And so that's what I'm currently reading now.
Okay, nice. Do you have any favorite cases that you've encountered?
Well, my favorite case is any case that I'm able to wrap up. So like what you find with young lawyers, when you go to a firm, you're always going to find that there are cases there that are around before you ever start practicing. Or cases from you were in high school. So the best part for me is like when I finish up a matter, I can give the client their titles, give the client whatever they need to get, and just wrap it up. So that's the best case for me. So like when I can call the person and say, Madam or Sir, I'm pleased to advise that the matter is finished and I will have a title here for your collection.
What's your most challenging case though? And what have you learned from it?
Alright, so my most challenging case was probably one that was an 11-year-old case. And the issue was that because it was so old, it has a lot of content, like 5 files, and you have to be reading the files, and you don't have to worry the matter. But the good thing for me was that we were the claimant and not the defendant. So, you have to be reading a lot of cases and different applications that occurred before, because this one had a number of applications. So, but this one we're currently settling it, so a good ending, I would say.
Okay. So, what is one thing you wish you knew before entering the legal profession?
Probably that the formality. When I watch TV, like Law and those things, you would think that's how it is. But you will be in for a surprise that in terms of Commonwealth countries, it's more like formal. We have to wear like a robe and they call it a bib. You have to stay in a box. You can approach the witness and so forth. So it's not that like showmanship that you see in those American shows.
Right.
It's a lot more fun. Yeah.
I get you.
So when the name Vivian Rose is mentioned, what is one thing you like people to remember?
That I'm somebody who is willing to help, or somebody who is humble. That's always been a thing for me. So, even recently I had a matter at court, and for certain matters you have to wear the bib and stuff. So the people, they know you're a lawyer. And this lady, I was waiting on my drive, and this lady just crossed the road, and then she's like, "Sir, I see that you're a lawyer. I have a question." And the lady then proceeded to go to tell me a story about a legal issue she had, for which she couldn't afford, but she needed some legal advice. So I helped her and told her she can go to the legal aid clinic. But that's just how people are. Because once they know you're a lawyer, they're going to come and they're going to ask for some form of assistance.
Okay, so what is your unrealistic goal? In keeping with the theme, unrealistic goal, what is your unrealistic goal?
Well, to be as wealthy as I can be, and to help as many people as I can. Because to me, wealth or money without having it to help others, to me, it can be meaningless at times. Because you see, when you help people, I don't know if it's with everybody, but for me, when I help somebody, it makes me feel good inside. It just gives like a breath of fresh air.
Right.
So my thing was always to help people wherever I can. So if it's scholarships, because you find a lot of educated persons are unable to achieve what they can achieve, or to go as far as they can because of financial restraint. And then my thing is also like in terms of medicine or medical assistance, a lot of people are sick and unable to get the best care. So I've always thought that that's something I want to be a part of.
So will we start a foundation, a Vivian Rose Foundation?
Yeah, sure. That's something that it can always do as well, like charity. But I was thinking even more like in the medical field, like probably a facility where people can get certain assistance. Because like when you look in the newspaper and so, and people have ailments and they're like, oh, how much million US to go overseas and do it. And it's like a gut-wrenching feeling, because illness is not prejudice. It can affect anyone. And then it's hard when you see the person's unable to help the loved one or so forth, or you're in a bind where because of the money, it's almost impossible for them to get the treatment. So I always thought that's something I would want to make certain procedures more accessible to the less fortunate.
That is good, and I really hope that comes through for you. I hope that you work hard to achieve that because I think that it is needed in Jamaica, and I appreciate the fact that you want to build within your country and to help the citizens along the way for those who are less fortunate. That's something very near and dear to my heart, so I do appreciate you coming and sharing that as well. You spoke about humility and being a humble person. What keeps you grounded? Because if to be honest, the misconception about lawyers is that they're very arrogant people, some of them. But I've met really cool lawyers, really humble to earth lawyers like yourself. So what keeps you grounded?
Well, what keeps me grounded is I would say the way I was raised. I was always raised to be humble, and like they say, the humble calf got the most milk. It's just the way I was raised. I find that life can change in a second, so arrogance will carry you so far, because you'll be arrogant today and then be on your face the next day. So I treat everybody with the same level of respect. The person who is sweeping the road or my boss, it don't matter. I treat you with the same level of respect. So that's how I always believe that people should be, because the way you treat somebody can affect them and affect the way they view you, even change the day. Because you just seen somebody and telling them good morning or, have a nice day. So it can, be that energy for the rest of the day.
It makes a world of a difference, man.
Certainly.
A smile, a compliment goes a long way.
So it's humility and also respect for those around you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have a segment called Story Time where Laura is going to give you a background about a particular company, because here on the Unreal Estate Box, we like to highlight the underdogs among us, or companies that have grown and blossomed into multi-million-dollar corporations. So she's going to give you a summary about a company, and you're going to try to guess what that company is, or the name of that company.
Okay.
Alright? Okay, perfect.
All right. Before streaming services came along, you might have been guilty of using controversial file sharing sites. You remember LimeWire? Anybody? That virus-filled software? Anybody here you never use LimeWire to download music?
I did, yes.
I lived on LimeWire. Right. So sites like LimeWire, Napster, and the private way to download your music. Not only did Daniel have to convince the music record labels who have been burnt by tech industry to give up their most valuable assets for free, but he also had to convince people to pay for something they already get for free. So how do you build something better than free? The answer for Daniel was speed. The human brain conceives anything that happens in less than 200 ms as instant. And Daniel wanted nothing short of that. But to set the scene, this was back in 2008. The first iPhone had just been introduced a few years back. Internet broadband was probably a tenth of what it was today, and despite the thousands of engineering hours and 2 years of work that went into achieving that goal, the best of the engineering team at this company could do was 500 ms. For customers, speed was the company's competitive advantage. It is what made it 10 times better than all the privating websites that would sometimes take hours to just download a single album. Daniel describes speed of the product as magical. It is what got Mark Zuckerberg, Sean Parker, and almost every tech blogger at the time to sing praises of this company almost as soon as it launched. Most startups have the luxury to go around incumbent players and disrupt their industries. After all, Uber didn't have to work with taxis, Airbnb didn't have to work with hotels, Robinhood didn't have to work with brokers, etc. But this company, on the other hand, absolutely had to, if it didn't want to suffer the same demise as Napster and Private Bay. Instead of negotiating at a global deal, he went after markets that have been crumbled by piracy. 80% of licensing revenue had been lost to Sweden due to government's heavy investment in fair access to high bandwidth. He guaranteed music record label a 1-year revenue upfront no matter what happened to the company. After he proved his model in EU, he allowed all major record labels to take a combined stake of almost 20% in the company in part of a global copyright deal. Basically, you know that it's about music and streaming online. But what I want us to listen to, the last part, is that we know they're still doing well up to this day. For their hardcore fans, they would debut the premium service a few weeks or months prior to introducing the free version, right? And the general public, they introduced a free version, but it was invite only. Each new member was given 5 invitations they could use to invite their friends, no less, no more. Also, to seed each new market, they gave their first batch of invites to bloggers and notable techies. In the US, for instance, the company also partnered with Clout, a service that measures online influence, to give out 15,000 to 20,000 invites. Now, all in all, they are $1 million tech company streaming all sorts of music, and I want you to guess which one it is.
Spotify?
Absolutely. It is Spotify. Yeah, man, Spotify was doing very well. When you're getting it for free, you know, you don't want to pay for it. Why would you? The concept don't make sense. But then also, I would pay for it just because you don't get virus. Do you remember how LimeWire used to crash computers? Yeah, my own crash. Left, right, and center.
All right, so Mr. Rose is a host scholar. Vivian Rose is a host scholar. So he's my friend in real life, and he watches documentaries, and he tells me about documentaries, and he has a vast amount of information to share. So my friend is a scholar, and our thing is we do riddles on a daily basis. So this is our wording segment where we have riddles and we have tongue twisters and we have pronunciations of words for you living at today. Our first one we're gonna do is a riddle. The first question: I have keys but no locks and space and have no rooms. You can enter but you can't go outside. What am I?
I don't know.
Don't do that.
It wouldn't even try, Mr. Rose. Come on.
No, come, try. You have 2 attempts. All right, go again. I have keys but no locks and space but no rooms. You can enter but you can't go outside. What am I?
I'm trying to not say something silly.
You know it.
Keys, but no, what no? You go inside, I can't go outside. Keys. I'm getting about keys.
Alright, you can build on that if you want to.
Keys. Space. Keys, space. You know, what am I thinking about keyboard? You know, but that's all wrong.
Okay, there we go.
Well,
come on. That's right.
Wow.
You didn't even say it with confidence. I shouldn't give it to you, but yes, keyboard is right. Okay. Next question. I called my dog from the opposite side of the river. The dog crossed the river without getting wet and without using a bridge, a boat, or a raft. How is that possible?
so you call the dog from the opposite side of the river,
Yes.
and you say him come across without using a boat or a bridge, and he was dried.
Yeah, he was dry.
I don't know. There was no water in the river.
No.
That could work.
They said no boat or bridge.
Yeah, so no crossing aid. No crossing aid. What is it?
I'm not sure. I feel like it's a simple answer, but I overthink it.
You are overthinking it. So simple.
The dog was beside you all along.
No, it's actually the river was frozen.
Yeah, somebody I think the right river is never think winter.
The dry could have worked too.
No, it couldn't work.
Why not river dry? Some rivers are
It could no.
The
Dry
water
and
is frozen.
It's two different
Yeah,
things.
it's freeze.
Let
If
us-
there's no water in the
Logical.
river, it cross.
Let's calm down. We're not seeking a loophole.
It could have worked, yeah,
wrong.
Mr. Rose. Not say a word.
No. Get wrong, Vivian. Lies. Last one. What two words added together contain the most letters?
What two words added together contain the most letters?
Yeah.
In infinite. What is that wrong?
Rose, you
Is that
were
right?
doing so well.
You know it's wrong. The fact that you're laughing, you must know that wrong. Have one more attempt. Go again.
You say contain the most words?
Letters.
Oh, letters.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, my answer, but I already said it earlier, so I'm not gonna eat.
What's it? Infinite?
No, not that.
It's a post office.
What? Oh,
A post office. Post and office, and it contains.
modern time. When you have to more post office again.
Well, let's go back to the basics. Alright, so that's your word. Pronounce that word for me, please.
What is plum? Plumiferous. Plumiferous. Is that
No, you have one more attempt.
plum? Not the same pronunciation, I get. Plum. Iferous. Plumiferous. What is
No.
it?
The word is plumbiferous.
Oh no, they pronounce the B.
No, you aren't. Alright, so I'm gonna give you a sentence and you tell me what you think plumbiferous means.
Okay.
The Italian writer asserts that the use of the plumbiferous glaze was applied in Urbino as early as 1300.
What is it for plumiferous? Blaze?
Glaze, Glaze.
Oh. Well, in my ear glaze, I'm just a timber cake. Or yes. Whatever. I don't know, sweet or something. You don't get me for sweet. My ear glaze, I'm
Because I glaze, they make glaze stunker, friend? Really?
Yeah.
No. It's actually containing lead.
Really?
So plumbiferous is a kind of lead.
Oh.
Yeah. Alright, so that was
so Kimmy,
good.
ready
Good
for your
attempt.
rules?
Me?
Yes. Let's get it.
You just jump in real quick though. But go on.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. What goes around the world but stays in one corner?
A stamp.
Okay, this one is nice. What runs around a whole yard without moving?
Go again.
What runs around a whole yard without moving?
A fence.
I feel like it's the same.
Those are too easy, Laura.
That man say.
We're not looking at anything because we're not. But Mr.
Okay.
Rose, Vivian knows that
Last one.
I am a riddle guru.
2 fathers and 2 sons are in a car, yet there are only 3 people in the car. How?
Okay. 2 fathers and 2 sons are in a car, but only 3
Yet
people are in
there
the
are
car.
only 3 people in the car.
2 fathers and 2 sons. Is it a father, a grandfather, and a son, and then the sun is shining?
No, that was right. Father, grandfather, and son. That was it.
Okay.
That was it. We're not playing them game with you again. No, that was it. You're right.
They can. It's riddles are my thing. You know, we're up there coming out nice and strong.
Okay, so you're gonna try to pronounce this word.
Pterodactyl.
What is it? What's the definition of the word?
A pterodactyl is a type of dinosaur. The one, I think the pterodactyl dinosaur is the one that flies. I think that one has wings. Okay?
Get off this podcast right now. Right now.
Look at girl, post color. Okay?
It's your evening this evening.
Yep.
All right, mom. No problem. You win some, you lose some. That's good. I'm proud.
Tongues.
I'm proud.
Okay.
Let's get back to it.
All right,
Mr.
so
Rose.
Vivian, if you were to have lunch with 3 people, dead or alive, who will those 3 people be, and why should they want to have lunch with you?
Definitely my dad, right? Then probably Elon Musk. Why not the richest? Want to have lunch with the richest person, especially a self-made billionaire. And then
Absolutely.
not sure who the other one is. Probably like The Rock, one of those people, one of my favorite actors or actresses. I say The Rock. I like The Rock.
Okay. So why should they want to have lunch with you?
Because I am fun. And I can. It will be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. You are a great conversationalist, I must say.
Thank you.
You are a great conversationalist. There is never a dull moment with you. Okay? So I do appreciate that. What is one thing that you hope our listeners take away from your interview?
What I said about being humble and how you treat people.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, regardless of your success or effort, what people tend to remember, especially the people you interact with, is how you treat them. So they treat people with respect, and they tend to remember that, and they'll hold you in high regard. So my thing would be to always treat people with respect, and to, like I said, we're all equal, regardless of how much money you bring home at the end of the day, or what your job is, or who you are. We're all equal, and we need to treat people, or we should treat people with respect. Because, like I said, you treat somebody nice, you can make the day. It's not always about giving people something, it's just the way you interact with them and treat them. So just treating people well should be the natural thing. Just like breathing, treating people well should just be something that comes naturally to you.
And you never know what people are experiencing in their daily lives. So that's good.
At the end of this life, Mr. Rose, what specific unrealistic goal? Because we know we want to be wealthy, and we want to help, and we want to be kind. But what specific unrealistic goal would you have achieved that you would be very proud of? Or would you want to achieve that you'd be very proud of?
Leaving a legacy for my family, right? Because my brother would always say you can't leave a job for your kids. So I want to leave something tangible, and also something that they beyond something tangible. Something tangible and something else that they could be proud of. Leave a legacy where people will say, that gentleman, he did something good while he was here. So that's what I would like.
Absolutely.
How important is building generational wealth for you?
It's extremely important, because this is why rich people stay rich. Because they know that they don't teach us these things in school. What they teach you is to get good grades and then become a good employee, not a good employer. So how rich kids are raised, they are educated to take over the family business, right? So it's a mindset kind of thing, which, like I said, reading the books help a lot, because a lot of them, that's one of the points they drive home. So generational wealth is important, because if you can make it easier for the next generation, why not? Why live a life and then your children are going to come out and suffer? If you are suffering, that doesn't make any sense. So each generation should be able to, at least financially, have an easier life than the previous one, because if everybody's coming out and then it's the same thing over and over, then that makes no sense. So if the first generation, they were unable to go to university because of finance, then the second generation should be able to go to university, maybe with the help of student loan. But then the third generation should be able to go without any assistance from the student loan. You understand? So it's I think that each generation should be an improvement on the last.
Yeah.
So what qualities would you instill in your child or children to ensure that they set a foundation for their children and that generation to come, so that your legacy lives on.
Well, the first thing I believe you should already instill in your children is that family is key, right? Because a lot of persons who don't appreciate family, or we take it for granted. All right. Well, it's I would don't really appreciate it until we lose somebody. So I would instill in them to appreciate, family while they're here. To always rely on family, because while they can't choose their family, they're the ones that are there. And if you have a good family makeup, then you'll realize that your life can be a lot easier, right? Because even the way you're raised,
easier, man.
and
That's
when they
true.
can rely on each other and so forth, yes, you'll find that persons with a stable and happy life,
Right.
their outlook is a lot better, and their chances of being successful are a lot higher.
Right.
So it's just like instilling the importance of family and never taking family for granted.
Yeah, so true. Thank you, Vivian, for coming. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for just giving our listening audience the advice that they need for those aspiring lawyers, the advice that they need, to transition into the legal field. I think you're an exceptional attorney, always willing to help, always willing to share any wealth of knowledge that you can to ensure that someone's day is better, or that someone's experience is better in any situation. And so once again, I must say thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you for coming with positive energy. Thank you for just coming and being you and being authentic, and we really appreciate that. And from all of us here at Talor Productions and the Unrealistic Box, we just want to wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Wish you all the best in your charitable work, your foundation, everything that you aspire to achieve in this life. We hope that it comes through for you, and we hope that you continue to pour into others as you have done so for us today.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the program, and also for this brilliant idea that you guys have come up with to get
Our pleasure.
to get ideas from persons from all different aspects of life, all different kinds of careers and so forth, to encourage persons and to just give it a Jamaican perspective, because we have podcasts like these, but they're international. So the Jamaican flavor, the more home-based feel, is really appreciated.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that as you guys grow, you will be even more appreciated by those who hear it.
Thank you so much, Vivian. I appreciate it. And that is the end of another episode of the Unrealistic Box, and we would like to thank our listeners once again for tuning in. Connect with us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Be kind to someone this week, spread love, and remember, believe your own dreams. Goodbye.